Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to come up to the Blaine Senior Center for our town's Semi-Annual Resort Association Town Hall. I want to start by thanking the Blaine Senior Center people who have always been amazing at being able to set up the room and are here early, making sure that everything is going to roll along smoothly with audio visual and technology, and I think we all know that's the hardest part, getting all the technology working. So thank you very much for your hospitality and all your expertise. Yeah. Yeah. Pete is amazing. First item is I thought we would just remind everybody and introduce everybody to the members of the board and the various roles that they play. So I'm April Hashimoto, I'm the president, and I'm going to moderate this town hall. We have Debbie Jackman, she's the SRA and the chair of the governance committee. We have Kerry Clevenger next to her. He is a member of the ASC and the board liaison to the ASC. And he's super, super cool, as you can tell, because he's got his sunglasses with him indoors. Next to Kerry, we have Rod Nibb. He's the chair of the maintenance committee. And next to Rod, we have Delia Alberstein. She's the chair of the safety committee. Next to Debbie, Delia, we have Tom. Tom is our secretary of the SRA. And then we have Joel Green, who is the chair of the communications committee. Communications committee. And he's also super cool. And doesn't need sunglasses, by the way, to be super cool. Then we have, I'd also like to introduce Aaron. Aaron, our general manager. Everybody probably remembers from his very first day of work on the day of the annual general meeting in October. His introduction to Semi-Anu. And we have Lori at the back, who has Lori needs you. And so we have Lori, who was in an accident and has multiple injuries, multiple breaks in her leg, and a metal post in there to hold everything together. And wow. Has still managed to get up and look amazing. And this sign-in table, we've asked that everybody please sign in. So we have a record of everybody who was here, and Elisa is from an agency in Bellingham. She's sending us out on a temporary basis, and she just started Wednesday. So we're very grateful to her that she's taken her Saturday morning to spend with us. So in addition, we have Mohammed Tazim. He is out of town this week, and we have on the board, he's the chair of the environmental committee, and we have Greg Booth, who's our treasurer and also is out of town this week. So those are all the members of the board and the staff. Obviously, we also have maintenance staff who don't attend this meeting, but we have Leroy, who is our director of maintenance, and Mike, who is one of the maintenance guys, and Roz, who another maintenance person who actually has been in an accident and is off until he gets better. And we have a summer student that we'll be bringing in this summer.
Yeah, she starts Monday.
Who starts Monday? So we thought we'd start off. Last time we just did went directly to Q&A. We thought we'd start off this meeting by just covering some of the things that the board's been working on, to let people know what we've been up to. And we've got these things up on the screen if anybody wants to follow along there. We've been working on the effectiveness of the committees that serve under the board in various capacities. I sort of listed them out when we introduced the board members. We've established a work group to take a look at our playground amenities. That was an issue that came up at the last town hall. We've been working on options for the Boundary Ridge Stairs. Last year, our maintenance manager wasn't able to get any quotes at all. Nobody wanted to quote on the Boundary Ridge Stairs. So this year, Leroy has been able to get one bid done. He's waiting on a second bid, and then the board will take a look at both bids and make a decision about how to proceed. We've been working on this Goldfinch Way retaining wall matter. This is a big, long retaining wall down in Drayton Hillside neighborhood. It's in the reserve study budget for 2024. It's a fairly expensive project, and so we're carefully considering all of the options. We want to make sure, obviously, that the money is spent on a retaining wall that's effective, but we also don't want to overbuild something that's not necessary. There's been a lot of work done on fire prevention and evacuation plans. That was something that was also raised at the last town hall, and Delia has done a lot of work on that as chair of the safety committee, and she will give everybody an update on that later on. Later on in the meeting. I think most people are aware of the insurance matter. We are fully insured. Our insurance is all in place. We had a special general meeting to pass the payment of the higher premium that came in. So SRA is fully insured. And just very recently, the city they were a little bit late in doing so. The city posted a proposal, a submission by a developer for what used to be called Semi-Amber Highlands. It's now called a Vista at Birch Bay Point. It will go in across from the golf course, and the proposals for 470 plus homes that fall within Blaine city boundaries, but with at least that much or more that expands into the county. So the whole thing will be 1,000 or more new homes in there. So the board has sent off I don't know if this is any better. The board has sent off I'll stand over here. The board has sent off a letter to the city during the comment period, which I think ended June 5th. I know that a couple of other people who live in the community have also sent off letters. So the next step will be that there will be a community meeting, but the period to get any feedback to the city has ended on June 5th. I think anyone who walks would have seen signs posted along the parkway. They put a couple of signs in there, and then they sent out an email. So those are the main things that we've been working on. Obviously there's a lot more things, but those are the highlights. Now we thought we'd sort of go into some of the outstanding items from the last town hall. One of the questions was about the Big Harbor Road. Familiar with having to alternate one way going down Great Harbor Road. Everybody's concerned about the fact that we're now down to one single egress out of mostly out of Semi-Amber if there was a disaster. That is county responsibility. That area falls within the purview of the county, and the the only information we can get from them, which is the same with the public information, is it's on their schedule and in their budget to do in 2025. So, I guess the best we can do is hope that the county actually is able to deliver on their plans, but nobody should be expecting anything to happen in 2024. The county's aware of the fact that we're very concerned about the fact there's only one way out of Semiahmoo, and the staff at SRA have been in touch with them since it closed. But it's the government, and all we can do is register our concerns. So I guess I would say that makes it all the more important for everybody here to listen to what Delia is going to tell you about fire and evacuation, and she's got some information that she's going to make available to you, and let you know about a bunch of information that will also be on our website. The next item is about the sea. There was a question about the sea smoke buffer, so that's the buffer between the sea smoke community and the Semiahmoo Parkway. And Tom is going to address that, and then when Tom is done, he can hand the microphone to Debbie, who will talk about playground amenities.
For those of you who have lived here, this may be old news to you. We've got a bit of an issue of history. And original negotiations with Sea Smoke were in 2016, so that was 8 years ago. So by this time, we've changed staff pretty completely. The board changed several times.
Microphone closer.
Yes. So I've started research. I've collected a red line and a black line of the original negotiations between Sea Smoke and SRA. A lot of confusion in what I've seen so far. There were multiple parties, two developers, or a developer and a landowner. A third party land slice is called out. And then there's the county that has a right of way with the parkway. So bottom line is the developer was to plant trees by November 2017. They were to replace any trees that didn't survive after 2 years, which would put it at 2019. And since that time, as far as I can tell, there's been no activity one way or the other. This SRA is responsible for the gate area, landscaping, and the sign. Yet, at this point, my knowledge is unclear as to further responsibilities. It appears that all the rest belong to the neighborhood HOA of Sea Smoke. Multiple tracts, residential plus commercial. So it's a complicated situation. I'm not on top of it yet. So my recommendation is come next time to talk further, maybe with more facts. Sorry, Debbie.
Okay, Debbie, it's time to address, give us an update on playground amenities.
Debbie, I'm gonna ask you to stand up close to the computer so that it goes through the mic there as well.
Right. Hello. Yeah, so a little background first. Last year, 2023, new playground equipment was put into 2 parks that are within the St. Andrews gates. There's William Rex Park and there's Sire Park. Did I pronounce that right? Siren Park. So previously, William Rex Park had a swing set, and last year it was replaced with toddler play equipment. So there were complaints about that toddler play equipment. So at the last last town hall, we formed a working group to look into the issues with that new toddler play equipment. And we've done some work fleshing out the various options that could be done to address the concerns. And we're going to be meeting on the 17th of June to talk about those options and perhaps come up with something to make a recommendation to the board about it.
Okay, do you mind, I guess we're being asked to stand next to the computer so that the computer microphone can also pick up what's being said. So Delia is gonna give everybody an update on fire and evacuation information.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Did everyone get one? Is this on? You have to pretty close. Did everyone get one of these at the sign-in table? If you didn't, please pick one up on the way out. It has a lot of information. Last year, it was Cynthia Glon that brought up our last town hall meeting. It was Cynthia that brought up the question of what is the SRA doing to improve safety and preparedness in the event of wildfire, and also what are we doing about evacuation route planning. So our committee went to work with some research. We found that the Whatcom Conservation District is the agency that's responsible for wildfire prevention and mitigation efforts. So we invited some of their people to come out and present to us what we can do as a community to help better protect our homes, our safety, and our evacuation route. And there is a video of that presentation on the YouTube page of our website, the SRA website. We also sent out the link for that presentation 2 weeks ago in the SRA This Week email. So if you want to search your inbox, you'll find that link. But also in this handout, there is a brochure that is basically the summary of that video as to what we can do to better protect our homes against ignition in the event that there is a wildfire. Because in the case of wildfires, like if the western side of the parkway caught on fire, and there were a stiff breeze coming in, a marine breeze coming in, embers would be coming over into our neighborhoods, right? And so how do we better protect our homes from ignition in case that happens? So that's what this explains, as well as the video. The agency that's responsible for evacuation route planning is the Division of Emergency Management at the Sheriff's Department. And they do have evacuation planning methods in place. Of course, it depends on if there's a wildfire, where is it? That affects your evacuation route, right? Or if it's another type of disaster, like an earthquake, for example, it might not be evacuate. It might be shelter in place and be ready to shelter in place for 2 weeks. They want us to be ready. I always thought it was 3 days, but they said, no, 2 weeks. So we went to them, and that's what this guide is. This guide is how to prepare for all kinds of different disasters. It could be wildfire, it could be earthquake, it could be tsunami, it could be winter storm, windstorm, flooding. So there's detailed information as to how to prepare for each of those, including evacuation planning. And then that agency also has a public notification methods. And that's what this page is in your handout. And one of them is called Alert Sense. And that is kind of like a reverse 911 system, whereby they can call all of the landlines in a given geographic area with a recorded message that says, this is the nature of the emergency and this is what we want you to do. The other one is something called iPause, which is kind of like Amber Alert, where they ping the cell towers in a given area. And every cell phone that's within that area gets like an Amber Alert kind of message, where you get a text message. This is the nature of the emergency. This is what we want you to do. The other thing they have is they have access to local TV stations and radio stations. So how when the TV screen turns blue and that annoying alarm sound that you can't ignore, and it says this is a text. Well, if there were an actual emergency, it wouldn't say this is text. This is an emergency. So they have that system of communication. And then there's also a website called WhatcomReady.org. And it's real time. So it has all kinds of links in it. So like last winter, we had a 3-day snowstorm where we had 17 inches of snow accumulating. And you can go to that website and you can click on the snowstorm link and it'll give you real-time information of what's going on in the county and what they want you to do or not do. So our government does have a lot of resources available. We just weren't aware of what they are necessarily. So our committee did that research for you. Then we had another speaker come. And this was Fire Chief Vanderveen came to speak to our committee and other members of the community. And because there was a news announcement in the Northern Light that the fire district was considering a levy lid lift, which basically is they're going to request taxpayers to approve a property tax increase to help fund the fire district. And that's going to be in the August ballot. Okay, so we had him come out and speak about what is the status of our fire district. How does it affect semi-annual residents? If this levy were to be approved, how would the money be spent? Okay, and there is a video on the YouTube website of that presentation by the fire chief, and they also had 2 fire commissioners attending as well. It's very good. It's very interactive with the audience. A lot of questions and answers going back and forth. So it's a little bit longer. It's over an hour. And but if you don't have time to look at the video, these are the cliff notes in that video. This is the summary of basically what the fire chief said. And one of the things that they're going to do with the money, if we approve it, is they're going to open up the semi-annual fire station and man it 24/7. Fully man it 24/7. So this information is important. We talked about this as a board, that we do not want to be a political organization. We're not. But this is a safety issue that's squarely within the wheelhouse of the Safety and Security Committee. So we feel it's our responsibility to bring you the information so that you are able to be better informed voters. Okay, so that's what this is. And so I hope you'll have a chance to take a look at the video, but if you can't, you've got the footnotes version. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Nice job. Thank you. Yes, thanks. There's a ton of information that is out there and a ton of resources that are out there. We put as much of it on the website as we can, provide some of the copies here. And then it's everybody's responsibility to be prepared for an emergency. So we're providing you the resources and the information, but then it's sort of up to you to make sure you've got the water, you've got the supplies, and have plan with your family and your friends on how you're getting out and where you're meeting and all of those things that are part of a disaster plan. The last item is that there was a question raised at the last meeting about the putting in some buffer zone signage into Carnoustie, and the board has agreed to put that signage in. We have to work with, there's a person in the neighborhood we need to work with to just agree on where those signs would go. So that's the update on that. So we're just going to move into questions from the audience. So if you'd like to ask a question, we ask that you come to the front, do what I'm not doing, which is stand by the computer, stand by this laptop so that the microphone on the laptop, I guess, for the people participating online can hear. Give your name, give your neighborhood, and ask your question. So if anybody has a question, put their hand up. Connie?
Someone has to.
Somebody has to be the leader.
Yeah. I'm Connie Sturdy. I'm from Royal Troon and lived here all my life. No, I have not. Anyway, so one thing I do, I want to thank the board for you know, being where you are, because it's a thankless job, we all know. So, and thank you so much for, you know, your efforts. One thing I want to ask is, and things are looking way better. I love the gates. They look awesome. One thing is in the neighborhoods when I've gone for walks is there's like a lot of homes that aren't being kept up. I don't know if they're rentals. But there's way more than what there used to be. Also on lots, empty lots, they used to cut about 2 feet in, but now there's a lot of growth going onto the road. So I'm curious if there's anything that's gonna happen with that. I believe that's it. So.
Okay, so this is Carrie's our liaison AFD and respond.
I think, you know, traditionally, that's been something that the ASC would deal with, but the ASC's more involved with approving new builds and new construction projects and new landscaping. And we haven't really had a means of enforcing that kind of stuff, like how a house is looking or how a lot is looking, unless somebody comes to us. Like, so we kind of need that somebody to step up and say, okay, I've noticed that this is going on, and then you would notify our ASC liaison Carol, and then she would send a notice to the owners to take care of that. So that's kind of how that process works, because we don't really have anybody that like walks around enforcing. Well, we have some neighbors that, no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Carrie, if I can add on top of that, just working with Carol as I have been, she has sent out notices and does every year to the entire Essenayamu community. One goes to people who are built and have their own homes, and some of the vacant lots that remind them that this time of the year, there's certain things that need to be done. Being wary of fawn season and wildlife season and when things should be done. So I've already seen some things starting to happen in different neighborhoods. Things cut back, as you were saying there. So yes, your help is much needed as well, especially on the vacant lot part that we could take a look at. But we are definitely sending out notices and getting some kind of response and seeing some of that from there. So.
Yeah, so if anybody has a concern about a particular vacant lot, please contact Carol and make sure you include Aaron on the email as well, so that we can follow up on that. I think that there is definitely a season where people come back to Semiahmoo and start to notice, you know, the state of their neighborhood. And for some of the empty lots, people aren't here, they own and aren't able to see their lot. So we will pass along to them a request that they make sure that their lot fits in with the neighborhood. Another question? Cynthia? Oh, would you like to come up here?
Sure.
Just introduce yourself. I think you're supposed to stand close to. We should put a star on the floor.
The name is Pam Rose. So just a comment, in our neighborhood, I've seen 2 lots just this last week where people are doing the cutback. So I don't know whether it's the notices that are going out, but seems to be working if they are. So good job.
They have sent out notices.
Have they sent them out?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, well, good. There you go.
So, Cynthia, do you want to come up? I feel like I should go home and put on something better.
I'm better at writing than I am at talking, so please bear with me. First of all, I'd like to compliment our new board, because I read the write-up and the voting pamphlet, and I was blown away with the credentials and the backgrounds at these new people are spectacular, and I am so pleased that we have a great group up there now. And Delia, your work with the fire, that fire department, I have wanted that back. I've often wondered why it was closed. I mean, it's right there at our fingertips, and it would solve so many of my concerns, which is fire, evacuation, overgrowth of the trees, little decorative trees. Oh, pardon me. I'm Cynthia Glahn, and I've been in the neighborhood 32 years. So I've seen many changes, and I don't recognize the vision that exists now that was that of 1992. Primarily because the homes had small decorative trees that were cute, but now they're monstrosities that are overhanging. We have a roadway that is almost like going through, I don't know, the Wizard of Oz, where everything is covered and rounded, and you can't, and you got to think that it's a fire hazard. We have the not only do the trees overgrowth cause fire, but the watershed is distorted, the evacuation is encumbered, and the easements are not cleared. There's roadways that were on the original plat that aren't there, that haven't been done. Yes.
Could I add something to your
Please.
comments? The gentleman that came out, sorry,
I think people online.
oh, sorry.
Prefer that you go back to the microphone.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll tag on.
Well, why don't
We
you,
can
why
talk.
don't you ask your question? And
Well,
we'll
okay,
discuss.
what a lot of the reason that I'm my husband and I are on a loop that can be easily sealed off with fire. Now, we have not just natural fire, we have accidental. We also have to think about arson. That it wouldn't take much for that underbrush. Now, nobody wants to think of these things, but we live in a world of terrorism, and and what an easy thing to set off a few spots of especially in the summer, very dry underbrush right along the roadway. It could be a drive-by arson practically. Just so, I mean, these are things, and that is one thing, but to have our easements plugged, and I know you may have gone over this with all the excellent information you checked on dealing with evacuation, but I have state law, and it's real quick. If I could just read to you an excerpt. It simply says, okay, it simply says, do not plant near underground utility services. Tree roots can grow to interfere with underground pipes, cables, and wires. Future repairs to these facilities could damage the health and beauty of our nearby plants, trees, and or even require removal. Well, I can't get my easement cleared. We had it on the original plan from 1992. It was supposed to be near grass, and that was mandatory from the city. We worked better with the city, I think, back in those years. That was a rule that we abide by. I maintained this for 30 years. Or not the grass. And later on, small growth, dwarf, no higher than dwarf, was approved. Well, I have massive trees, which my neighbor, who doesn't, won't cooperate with any kind of trimming, or just won't work with the community regarding views. They have trees that are well over the lot, the height restriction on the house, and we can't, there's no enforcement, and yet I'm trying to work with the rules. I don't like to, but I can't, we're not living up to state law. And, you know, what do we do? Do we have to go to the state? We have to get, it was suggested I go to a lawyer. So then I got a lawyer that I have to pay. And then I pay the lawyer at the other end too.
I have a
doesn't seem fair.
solution for you, Cynthia.
Please.
On the back of this brochure, there's a QR code, and or it should be. And there's also the contact information for the Watcom Conservation District. And Robert Walters is the gentleman who is the fire safety specialist, the wildfire safety specialist. He is coming back out to Semiahmoo this summer to inspect our buffer areas that are owned by the SRA. He will come to individual homes, and you can go on their website and you can sign up for your own home to be inspected. And he will write up a written report for you to take to the ASC or the city or whomever you need to go to, that is written up by someone who is a specialist in fire safety. And he'll also come to the neighborhood HOAs. So I live in Boundary Ridge. We've got 3 wooded tracts of land. He's going to come inspect them for us and tell us what we do to mitigate the risk of fire in those areas. So take this and this brochure and contact Mr. Walters.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Delia. I really can't thank you enough for all you've done.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there anybody else in the audience who has a question? Would you like to come up?
Ed Cassidy from Royal Troons. I just have a couple questions, more for information. Can you give us a status of where the lawsuit that happened before, and then also maybe what's going on with Inverness?
Okay. So there has been no real movement in the lawsuit. We're in this phase of exchange of information, and that's been going on for a while. There's a number of parties. There's us, there's the plaintiffs, there's the city, and there's the developers of Sea Smokes. There's 4 parties with 4 sets of lawyers, all requesting information and deciding they need one more piece of information. So we're sort of in that phase right now. So nothing material has developed. Inverness is the name for now. Like, these developers seem to like changing the names of their proposed developments. So back to this, it used to be called Semiahmoo Highlands. So if any of you remember going to a community meeting on Semiahmoo Highlands, that is now a Vista, that first page point, same development. Inverness is the development that's going, I'm not a golfer, so maybe you can help me if you're a golfer. It's the development that is proposed for across what green? 4? Okay, so 4th, 5th, somebody says 4th, somebody says 5th, fairway, both, okay, the 4th and 5th fairways. The developer did meet with us a couple of times because Inverness is part of Semiahmoo, Vista is not. So we don't have, as far as Vista goes, we are just a member of the community commenting on a development in our community. With Inverness, Inverness is part of Semiahmoo, just like St. Andrew or Brayton Cove or Prestwick or any of the other neighborhoods. So that we did have several meetings with them. They were starting to go planning. We, obviously have a great deal of interest in making sure they have their CCNRs in order. We have a say in what gets put in there and what it looks like and the density and all of those things that are important to all of us, that it has continuity and consistency with the rest of Semiahmoo. And then they've gone quiet. So I assume that, the higher interest rates, I think the higher interest rates hit a lot of developers, that, that's going to be an additional cost to them, and that a lot of them have decided to kind of wait out the interest rates. So it's still on the books, but seems to have just been put on the back burner for now. Yes, I'm sure that the quieter it stays and the longer it stays quiet is good with a lot of people. Any other questions from the audience? We're doing audience questions first and then moving to email questions second. Okay, so we received some email questions. The first question we received was about driving speeds on Drayton Harbor Road, and Delia is going to respond to that one. And she's also gonna respond to the second question from the same person or people. So it's Gabe and Debbie Komyathy who have asked two questions. Second one is about the resort and whether we get discounts for our meetings. Over to you.
So the speeding is also under the purview of the Safety and Security Committee, obviously. And we have done quite a bit of work on that, and the city is also doing quite a bit of work on that. This effort to calm the speed that is occurring on Drayton Harbor Road was really started last year by Jennifer Plumbaum. And we invited her to come speak to our committee. And she shared with us the traffic study that was done by the city and what the average speeds were in those areas. So we put together as a committee a letter from the SRA, which was approved by the board, and was sent by Aaron, our general manager, to the city council, asking for several steps to be taken for speed calming, but also other security measures like repainting the crosswalks. We've got 2 crosswalks that have no signage. So it was a more comprehensive, it wasn't just speeding, it was more comprehensive regarding safety and security. I'm pleased to say that our new police chief, Roger Funk, was just here Thursday at the SRA Center giving a presentation to a group of the NHOA leaders. And he has already increased patrols of Drayton Harbor Road. He came from the Sheriff's Department, Whatcom County Sheriff's Department, and he's also contacted his counterparts there for the 25-mile-an-hour stretch that's in the county, so that the Sheriff's Department has increased patrols, the city has increased patrols. He did do research. I mean, he's brand new, so he did do research on those flashing speed alert signs, with the radar. The city apparently does have one, but it's not working. And so he said they will most likely be replacing it. And so we will have that tool available. I don't know if it's going to be one of the portable ones that they can move from Drayton Harbor Road over to Semiahmoo Parkway, or if it's going to be a permanent one. But the police department is on it. The city manager has been met with by Jim Hermson, who lives on the Spit. He is the chair of the advisory committee to the Blaine Public Works Department. And he's met with them about the other requirements that we asked for, not requirements, but requests that we had. And so
they did add a wildlife crossing.
Yes, that was they did add that, and that was actually the result of Jennifer's work. Yeah. So the city is responding, and so I think we'll hopefully start to see some safer roads in Semiahmoo soon. Oh, wait a minute. The second question, sorry. So the second question, how are we doing with negotiating with the club and the inn on discounts so that we can have more of our meetings in the resort supporting our resort community? And the new general manager of the inn attended one of our board meetings. And he's very open to making some accommodation for us to utilize the resort. The club has already made an accommodation. Our last town hall, they comped us. Okay, it's normally $500 to rent the Palmer room, but they comped us, thinking, well, maybe they would get more business at the restaurant. As a result of that, well, that didn't happen. So I think if we can work as a community to go back to the way things were pre-COVID. Remember, I've lived here 25 years. We used to do things at the club and at the resort as much as we could to support them. And then afterwards, everybody get together, they go to Packard's, they go to Stars, they go to Pierside, and they give the resort or the club some business. So if we can return to that spirit in our community where we have the spirit of supporting our resort, I think we'll get starting to see some more accommodation for the SRA.
Thanks, Dana. Yeah, I think, after our last town hall, we had 2 tables of 2 people each stay for, and use the, restaurant at, Blue Heron Restaurant. One of them was Debbie. So,
Nobody told me.
I think, we all obviously want to keep the inn in business and the golf club in business. It's a pretty core part of our property values and the amenities we enjoy here in the community. Most of the amenities are in fact provided by the golf club in terms of tennis courts and pickleball and restaurants. And so, yeah, I try to support the golf club and the resort restaurants as much as you can. The next question was about garage sales, and it's from, I think, Carol and Terry Fight. Yeah, Carol and Terry Fight, and Debbie's going to address that question.
Let's see here. I had made a copy of the actual rule, but in our community rules, it currently states that moving garage and estate sales are not allowed. Very simply. So this question was raised via email, and I don't think, well, people I've talked to on the board don't remember the questionnaire being circulated. It might have been a bit longer than 2 or 3 years ago. But now that this question has been asked, we can discuss it as a board. And I made a set of pages over there to kind of do a bit more thinking about these types of issues. So anybody can go and write their ideas down, what they think about having a garage sale. Like, what are your thoughts on the pros, the cons, the risks, the benefits, and also if it were to be allowed, what kind of parameters would be placed on it. As an example, would you have it, allow one organized by the community once a year? That sort of thing. But yeah, I'd like to get your input on that. If you have ideas, there's pages you can just jot your notes down, but we'll look into that. Yeah, thanks. Can I ask people in the room what they think about or against or no?
Yes, so if you are strongly in favor or strongly against garage sales behind the gates, and you have some thoughts about it, maybe there is a number of sheets of paper at the sign-in desk with different titles, benefits, pros, cons, and if you have thoughts on it, strong thoughts on whether you are, the thought of having garage sales is very upsetting to you, or concept of having them is very appealing to you, maybe provide that input to us using the sign in or the sheets of paper that Debbie has provided at the front there, and then we can take that into consideration. At least it keeps holding it up and waving it around for everyone.
Is there a way for people online to do it? Like,
So we just put this together, these suggestions, I think the deadline was Thursday to get them in, so we haven't had the support, we haven't had a chance to consider exactly how we're going to deal with this, but we thought that since we had people here, we give people the opportunity to jot down their thoughts. In either way, there's gonna be people who are happy and people who are unhappy, but let us know what you think. The next question is from Pam Moroso, and it's about board priorities, and Ron was going to take that. question.
Is this for the benefit of people online or, because I can
Yeah.
project?
If you can.
Okay, but
speak
as long as you
up,
stand up so that people online can hear from here.
So, board priorities, as I understand the question, since the last time we met at the town hall. We discuss quite a few things on the board. We have pretty aggressive agendas at our meetings. I would say 90% of it is captured by 5 things since the last meeting. We'd like to bring some alignment of the objectives and the goals and operational activities of the various committees more in line with the benefits of you, the homeowners. Along with that, we'd like to encourage and incent more people to volunteer for the committees. To get some new blood and new stakeholders involved in some of the things that we discuss on the board, again, for the benefit of everybody in the community. We've talked quite a bit about the lawsuit, which we are limited in terms of what we can discuss, of course, but we've talked quite a bit about that in our deliberations at our various committee meetings. We did complete getting an insurance provider for the HOA. It was something we're pretty happy with. And the last thing is we, since the last meeting, have talked quite a bit about the Goldfinch Wall, how that's going to be designed, working with stakeholders, contractors, the maintenance committee, the committee I'm on, as well as Leroy and his group, and Aaron's done quite a bit of work as well to get us to the point where we can begin that project. Yeah, so those are the big 5. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question we received by email is about Boundary Ridge Stairs. It's from Valerie Norris, and Delia is going to talk about the Boundary Ridge Stairs. Delia lives in Boundary Ridge where the stairs are, so.
She doesn't
Thank
want
you.
stairs.
Well, I think April's already basically covered that in the initial slide there. Last year, it was Dan Rudolph was our maintenance director last year. He could not get a contractor to get on our stairs. So there was nothing that could be done about them. This year, we have a new maintenance director, Leroy Dougal, who worked with the City Public Works Department for years. And so he has a lot more contacts in the community. He knows who's who. And he can reach out to them, you know, like as a favor, would you take a look at these stairs? And by the way, don't gouge us when you give us a bid. And so he was successful in getting one bid. Another one is under the way, but they had to be power washed and cleaned, and they had to be made safe for these contractors to get down there and do the bids. So that was the first part of the maintenance department's work this year. And so that, you know, we're hoping that soon we'll have a second bid and we'll begin to deliberate as a board as to what do we do and bring it to the community. And so the work is underway, but we're not there yet. And I don't know that the work could even be started this year. You know, even if we had everything in place, it might not be until next year, but the work is underway. Okay.
How many people use those stairs? So Connie is asking about if we have any information on how many people use the stairs. But the stairs, the Boundary Ridge stairs are a little bit of a anomaly. They're kind of like the parks. They are the responsibility of SRA. It's embedded in the CCNRs. The SRA is responsible for those stairs. At the same time, I know there's a sentiment in the community about the stairs. There are some people who think the stairs are, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread. They use them every day. They, you know, the quality of their life is negatively impacted by not being able to access the stairs. And then we have other people who say there's stairs. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, so the people who are saying that they don't even know there are stairs are, you know, less inclined to spend money on the stairs. And the people who use the stairs every day are chomping at the bit for that money to be well spent. So, you know, we haven't done any statistics on how much usage there is of the stairs or who's using it or how often. But it is embedded in our CCNRs that we're responsible for, owning and taking care of those stairs. So, I think the first step for us is to find out what the options are. I mean, it's a very large structure with a lot of various load-bearing parts and obviously dangerous if they're not safe. Last report we got was that the engineer who did the report recommended that people stay off of them, so we closed them. You know, and I know there's people who regularly use the stairs who are very upset by that. But we had a report in our hands saying they weren't safe, and so we had no choice except to close them. Then, you know, as Delia said, we cleaned the stairs off so that we could get different people in there to take a look at them, and then some people got excited that that meant they were ready to use again and fixed, which they weren't. So we're going, you know, we've got to collect those bids and costs, and different parties have different proposals on what needs to be fixed, what doesn't need to be fixed, what materials to use, how much to spend, you know, relative to how much additional life we'll get on the stairs, and those are all things the board's gonna have to consider once we have that information in hand. But we want to get that second bid before we proceed.
I do think that we can do a better job as a board of letting people know that those are available as an amenity. And the way people use, I mean, I live in Boundary Ridge. I used to be able to get up and down those stairs. I can't anymore. I can get down them, but I can't get back up. So, but the way that they're used by the community is, if you can use them, fine. But if you have a guest, like grown children, grandchildren, you can drive to the SRA parking lot and you can walk across the street. There's a switchback there that gives you access to Boundary Ridge, and between the first and the second house on the left is where the access is to those stairs. You can go down the stairs, and what people do is they take their dogs, they take their kids, they let the dog off leash. It's a private beach. The dog swims, the kids play, they walk down to the park, and they either walk back up to their car or they keep going and they go down to Packers or they go to the marina. There's outdoor games, you know, for kids and adults. And so it's a really exceptional amenity that's available to us. It gets your kids out from behind their screens and out in the fresh air and enjoying nature. And it's very unique, obviously. So it's an amenity that's worth preserving, in my opinion, because if we take those stairs down, we'll never get approval to put them back. Never. Because of all the changes in the environmental policies along the bank there, we would never be able to replace them. So we need to be very thoughtful about, we have an asset, an amenity, and about taking care of it.
Okay, that was our last question. So we want to thank everybody who made the trip up to, Joel.
I just like to respond to one question. Okay, that's all right.
Come here.
Sure.
You have a question for us?
You don't want it. Hi, you asked the first question, Colleen, is that right?
Connie, yes.
Connie, I'm sorry. I think you got a pretty good explanation on undeveloped lots. But the thing that was particularly disturbing to me from what you told me is the upkeep of houses. When you said that, did it relate both to the houses themselves and their landscaping?
No, but I mean, I have seen it, but way more less.
Way more landscaping. Okay, I think that might be something we can try to do something to follow up on. I'm not sure what the plan would be. The other thing I think the community has to ask itself, if anything that you want to do in this day and age costs money, do we want to make a modest investment to have neighborhoods reviewed periodically? I don't know the answer. That's a community question, not a board question. Doug?
I'll just, in the 2023 budget, there was an allocation for an additional personnel. That allocation was for, primarily for working with ASC to help with enforcement, but also administrative work at the office. What is the status of that? Has that just been absorbed in the budget, or is there an ongoing thought process about staffing? Because not only to answer your point, how do we do that? I've heard from Carrie, I've heard from Aaron, that we always are challenged with staffing, so.
Well, I mean, that's fair. What I want to find out is what is the community? To me, going for 2023 is behind us. I don't know what the status of that is. Wasn't on the board then, really. What I want to find out is what level of investment should and how important this is to the community. And I just wanted to make sure, because we didn't talk about it, really, we talked about undeveloped lots, that I got that clear. That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question on this same issue.
I can't.
No, it's not you. No, not about you, but I.
You're gonna come up
Claire.
here,
It doesn't make.
you know, sitting in uncomfortable chairs, you give your name and your neighborhood.
D. Graham, Beachwater Villa. So we're on the spit, and I do have a clarification. We own with the shores tract D, that's open land as you come down. We own that. And as a result of ownership of that, we don't have to do anything. It's our land. So what we have decided to do with Shore's help, we alternate doing a path for the people from the trail system to walk on. But we're purposely leaving the grass in the middle high because we do not want tenting. We do not want homeless crowd there. It's our land. So we can decide what to use it for. So, and it was also to prevent a developer coming in and purchasing it and building in front of the shores and Beachwalker Villa. So I just want to clarify open land. So a lot of you are going to see that as you come down to the spit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to thank everybody who made the trip up to the Blaine Senior Center. I want to thank the Blaine Senior Center for once again giving us a great facility to use. And thank everybody who participated online, and wish everybody a very enjoyable Saturday afternoon in the sunshine. Thank you.